Hello, second grade, and welcome back to Writer's Workshop. This week, I have something very special planned for us. So, in front of me, right down here, I have something called a narrative writing checklist. So, this week for writing, I want us to really look back on our writing or the current writing you're working on right now to look and see if we have all the things that we need for a complete piece of writing. I'm doing this because we're getting ready to move on here in a couple of weeks to a different form of writing. So I'm preparing all of us right now so that we can make that move. So we need to make sure that we have all these little pieces for our writing. So I'll make myself disappear and let's focus in on this piece of paper right here. So you're going to find this on Seesaw, and you can use this right from your laptop on Seesaw and have your piece of writing out like I'm going to show you here in a few moments. And you can look back and forth to see if you have everything that you need. All right, let's start right in. So overall, we're looking at the structure of your writing. So overall, I wrote about one time when I did something. This is really important because that tells me that this is a narrative story, not an informational about something that you know how to do. It's not a piece of poetry or anything else like that. We have to make sure that this is a narrative piece of writing. So, like you guys are going to do here in a little bit, you're going to have this narrative checklist on Seesaw. And let me just pull that up a little bit. There we go. And you're going to have a piece of writing out right in front of you. And you're going to be kind of checking off on Seesaw if you did these certain things in your writing. So we have my piece of writing right here with the birds. Remember, I was coming into school. So let's think about it. Is that one time that I did something? Yes, it is. So this is certainly a narrative story. So under this column, yes, I can certainly say for sure that is a narrative moment. So I nailed that part, the overall. All right, I'm good there. So let's go to the next part, the lead. So this is the beginning of your story, that very first page. And we spent time working on what a great first page looks like. So let's make sure I did everything I need to. I thought about how to write a good beginning and chose a way to start my story. I chose the action, talk, or setting that would make a good beginning. I believe in my writing, we can look back at it and read it. I believe I used the craft move setting really well on my first page. So let's just make sure that I created a good setting in my beginning. I arrived at school early in the morning. It was a beautiful fall morning, and the trees were glowing red and orange. I was so excited to see all my students. In the distance, I could hear some birds chirping. Today was going to be a great day. So I think I used a couple in there. Let's see. I definitely used, and I'm going to underline it so that I can remember. I used setting. And I can even use action in this one too. Because I could hear the birds chirping in the background. That's some action that was happening in my scene as well. So I chose two different things there. So what do you think? I think I absolutely have a good beginning. Yep. I have two of those things. I only needed one because it's action, talk, or setting. So you only need to have one to make a great beginning. And I had two of them. So I think I'm really solid there. Transitions. So this is moving from one page to the next. I told the story in order by using words such as when, then, and after. Those are important words that we need to be using between the pages. It makes the transition to the next page a little bit easier, and it makes the story flow very nice. So I'm going to go back through and see if I use those words. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. So those words are when, then, and after. All right. So my first page, I shouldn't have any transitions at the beginning because it's the beginning of the story. Let's transition. Let's go to the second page. As I gathered my things, the birds continued chirping as loud as a full class of second graders. I made a really, really good comparison there. However, did I have a good transition word at the beginning? It sort of works, but it doesn't really quite flow. We can look at the previous page. Today is going to be a great day. As I gathered my things, it's missing that transition word. Not a time for me to edit right this second, but I'm going to go back to my list, and I could say that I'm starting to. I'm getting close. I have an okay transition. It's really not the best. I really should be trying to use when, then, and after as a transition word. So I'm going to grade myself. I'm going to say, oh yeah, I'm starting. And you know what? I'm going to go in now because I know that I'm missing that, and I'm going to circle it so that I can remember, oh, I need to go in and fix that word. Maybe I can use a better transition word. You can do the same thing for your writing at home. All right, the next thing, ending. I chose the action, talk, or feeling that would make a good ending. All right, so let's look at my ending. All right, so this is my last page, flew away. All of a sudden, a burst of wind came from behind. Just like a jet of red and orange leaves, the bird flew off. This bird was going to be okay, and I'm sure it was off to find its family. That's what I have for my ending page. So let's go back to that checklist and make sure I did what I needed. All right, let's see it. I chose the action, talk, or feeling that would make a good ending. Let's see. Definitely a lot of action that happened. All of a sudden, a burst of wind came from behind. Just like a jet of red and orange leaves, the bird flew off. That is a really good action, and I'm going to underline that just so that I remember that I used action on my last page. But I don't think I'm very happy with how I completely ended my page. I think that I could do something at the end, maybe include some sort of feeling or talk that I think would make my writing better. So I'm going to say that I'm starting to. I am definitely not a yes yet. I think that I can make mine a little bit stronger. Sure, I used one, but you know what? I think if I include something a little bit more at the end, very end of my ending, it'll make my writing that much stronger. So I'm grading myself starting to. I'm starting to get there. Okay, I like that. We're doing good so far. And just to remind myself that I need to add something down here, I might just put a big circle again, just so that I know, hey, I'm missing something here. I would then go back to my checklist and see, oh, yeah, I need to add something to my ending. Okay. All right. Next thing, organization. I wrote a lot of lines on a page and wrote across a lot of pages. All right. I wrote a lot of lines on a page and I wrote across a lot of pages. We can look very quickly and see that, right? Let's see. Did I write on a lot of lines? Certainly did. Did I write across a lot of pages? I think I did too. I'm not quite at my 5 pages yet because I have some in the middle that I need to finish up, but I certainly wrote a lot of lines on a page. Underline that. And wrote across a lot of pages. I'm not quite there yet. I didn't do that. I only have 3 pages done. I need to have 5 done, right? So I'm certainly starting to. That means that's something I really need to work on. I'm not a yes yet. You would be a yes if you wrote across 5 pages. I only wrote across 3. I'm getting there, but not quite yet. All right, elaboration and craft. These are a lot of the second grade skills that we've been working on, adding those juicy words, stretching out our moment, adding feeling, talk, all that good stuff. So let's see if I did it. I tried to bring my characters to life with details, talk, and actions. I think from before, remember my lead and ending? We talked about a lot of those actions that I used. I used a good setting in the beginning. Let's look at my second page because we haven't really looked at that. As I gathered my things, the birds continued chirping as loud as a class of second graders. I was wondering what all the fuss was about. Ooh, I've added some thinking in there. Just maybe they were all in a chipper mood. That was me making an assumption, maybe not a correct one. They continued on as I made the short walk inside. Okay. You know what? I tried out a lot of different things in my writing that I've discussed in all of these mini lessons. So, did I choose strong words that would help readers picture my story? I absolutely think so. all the comparisons that I made, all the juicy words that I decided to put in my writing. I think that makes it a strong piece. Elaboration. I tried to bring my characters to life with details, talk, and actions. I think I did a great job with that too. Even though I didn't get across 5 pages, I think that what I did brought myself and the bird to life. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty down here. Language conventions. So this is all the stuff that I always am checking you guys for. Capitals, ending punctuation, making sure that names are capitalized. We're using our best handwriting. So let's take a look. Spelling. To spell a word, I used what I knew about spelling patterns. So spelling patterns is everything that we've gone over in Jolly Phonics. So some of those trickier like NGs, the oohs and uhs, and the e's and ors, the OAs, the AIs, those patterns I'm going to be looking for because that's stuff that we've learned in words. So all those words that we can decode and tap out and scoop, I'm expecting to see those correctly written in our writing. Even if they're not correctly spelled, I want to see the correct sounds in those words, the ones that we've learned. So that's what I'm going to be grading you on here. Did you correctly decode a word to the best of your ability? I'm going to be looking for those sounds according to what we've learned in Jolly Phonics. And I certainly have. I've used that wall in the classroom to help me spell words. Next one. I spelled all the word wall words correctly and used the word wall to help me figure out how to spell other words. We don't have a word wall. Instead, you guys have a spelling dictionary, and I've seen a lot of you use it. It's in your writing folder, and there are already words in that dictionary that you should be spelling correctly. So, did you use that spelling dictionary and find all those words that you should be spelling right? Yes, I did. And that's what I'm going to be looking for in yours. And the last piece is punctuation. I use quotation marks to show what characters said. Did I use that in my story? Not yet. That's something that I need to go in and find and fix. So an example would be like this chirp chirp up here on my first page. If I were to be putting that in my writing, I would use 2 marks like this. Chirp. And quotations like that. Just like we find in any book. That tells me that there's a sound going on and that someone's talking. In this case, it's a bird, right? And we call these marks at the top quotation marks. So I haven't done that yet, and that's something I need to add. So it's on my checklist that I need to do that. And when I used words such as can't and don't, I used the apostrophe. And guess what? We haven't learned that yet, and we're not going to learn that in phonics until probably in the winter at some point. So I'm trying to think, did I use them? I'm going to look really quickly because I don't know. Oh, I did use quotation marks. Look at that. I actually looked in, and yes, I did use it. The beep beep from my truck. Okay, so I can go back and fix that, silly Mr. D. However, I do not see any contractions in there. So I'm going to fix this one for quotation marks. And I'm going to say starting to, because there's only one spot that I use quotation marks, but I can certainly find another spot to use them as well. When I use words such as can't and don't, I use the apostrophe. I didn't use those words, so I'm going to say not yet. But if you don't use those words in your writing, I can't grade you on that. So only if you're using those contractions, you should be using those apostrophes, and that's what I'm going to be looking for. And also for punctuation, it's not on the list, but I'm always looking for capitals at the beginning. And a piece of punctuation at the end of a sentence, like a period. So I'm always looking for the capital, and I'm always looking for that ending punctuation. So that's something else I'll be grading you on for punctuation, okay? So be excited, my second graders. This means that we're getting close to going to a different form of writing. Here I am again. There we go. So this week, really go in and check out that piece of writing that you're working on currently and use this checklist to make sure that you're doing all these things. And those spots where you're starting to and not yet, that's where you can go back in and start editing. And that's what I'd like you to take a picture of this week when you're writing at home. So pick a page where you found something that you were missing from the narrative checklist and that you made an edit in your writing. So maybe you forgot to do punctuation. Okay, we're going to take a picture of that page where I fixed punctuation. Maybe I need to work on my craft and I need to choose those juicy, strong words. And that's where I decided to make an edit and I take a picture of that. Okay. So, second grade, do your best work. Your writing is amazing. And this is going to really help you organize and make sure that your writing is super strong and that we're ready to move on to a different kind of writing. All right. Have fun, my second grade, and I'll see you all very soon.